Ryudo Kashima is an everyday ugly shut-in who thinks watching live streams will get him through life. However, one day, he manages to score the most popular and extroverted girl in his class. Despite the sudden jackpot, he must navigate through a woman's heart without any prior experience in the field. On the very first day of a new semester, Ryudo manages to crush on the most popular and beautiful girl in their school, Runa Shirakawa. As a pathetic introvert, he knows that his chances with Runa are below absolute zero. Yet, fate seems to have other plans for him, as Ryudo coincidentally studies in the same class as Runa. Although, taking his previously mentioned personality trait into account, he decides to act like a good shut-in and stay the hell out of Runa's sight. This plan seems to work fine, until Runa walks up to his seat to borrow a pencil. As she silently fills the form, our boy Ryudo and his little friend wake up. That's when he realizes that the only girl that he'd ever simp on is Runa. After class, Ryudo joins the Council of Cherry Boys, which is obviously made up of 3 losers, Yu Sukajichi and Ren Nishina. After wasting a few moments of the audience, the 3 of them decide that the person with the highest scores in the upcoming results will complete one task. As expected, on the day of the results, Ryudo manages to score the highest amongst the 3 of them, which in reality is the bottom 3rd position in the class. In the end, Ren and Ajichi challenge Ryudo to confess his bottled-up lovey-dovey feelings to anyone at their school. Later that day, Ryudo calls Runa to an isolated area of school using the old-fashioned method. He assumes that she wouldn't even notice the letter. However, suddenly out of nowhere, Runa appears on the scene. In that instant, while glitching like an autistic, Ryudo confesses his love. He contracts his abdominal muscles, prepared to face rejection. Yet, surprisingly, Runa says that she will become his girlfriend. And as for their first girlfriend-boyfriend thing, she asks him to walk home together. During the walk, Runa talks about the elephant in the room, revealing that the rumor regarding her changing boyfriends every 2 months is true. Still, it is not because she gets bored or anything. In fact, Runa says that she is a very loyal girlfriend. After a while, Runa and Ryudo finally reach her house. Unexpectedly, she invites him inside the house and seats him in her bedroom. The sudden scenery change is too much for Ryudo's little friend to handle. On top of that, he takes a sneak peek at the hidden treasures in Runa's room. That's when, all of a sudden, she walks in on him. However, despite freaking out, Runa sits on the bed and starts going commando. At this point, Ryudo thinks that he has been ice-skated by Truck Kun to one of those popular dating sims. Still, being an overly shy introvert, Ryudo manages to regain his restraint. He then tells Runa that their relationship is way too immature and new. But as it turns out, Runa thinks that every girlfriend must fulfill their obligations and please their boyfriends, or else they might fly off to some other women. That's when it dawns on Ryudo that all of her exes used Runa like a tissue. It wasn't Runa that bored them, rather it was them who used her. As the sun begins to set, Ryudo takes a short walk with Runa, regretting that his pathetic lifestyle. Amidst the thought, Runa says that Ryudo seems like a sincere man and how she has never dated a man like him. In that moment, he uses all the Riz points he gathered from dating sims, saying that Runa is his first girlfriend. Furthermore, he won't just go around hooking up with only female fans girls, since he is a firm follower of Top G. At the end, Ryudo assures her, stating that they will move past the 3rd base whenever Runa feels like it. The following morning, Ryudo begins his first day as Runa's boyfriend. Yet, he's still an unpopular and insignificant boy. To make things worse, he receives a text message from Runa saying that she overslept. But being the introvert shut-in who sucked at dating sims, Ryudo finds it too hard to reply with a genuine text. And so, in the end, he advises Runa to get her shit together and catch the next train to school. Later in class, as the teacher goes through useless things, Runa enters the class. With great confidence, she greets everyone and takes her seat. In between classes, Runa begins having a casual conversation with Ryudo, which apparently awakens the Dark Knight. From that day onwards, Runa frequently talks with him during breaks. At this point, Ryudo, the most unpopular boy in school, starts to gain attention, and not in a good way. Momentarily, he glances to the side only to find Runa's friend Nikoru Yamana staring at him. It seems like she wants to have a piece of him served on a hot plate. In that instance, Ryudo takes Runa to an isolated place to have a deep chat. He tells Runa to keep their relationship a secret from random nobodies, as the increasing amount of attention might just petrify him. Without any serious questions or arguments, Runa agrees to his demand, proving that she is the girlfriend we all should seek. Still, she does ask Ryudo about his thoughts on talking during weekends and after school. While trembling like an old hag, he asks Runa on a date. The night before the date, Ryudo receives a video call from Runa for the first time. She excitedly asks about his plans for their day. However, being the boy who never left his house, Ryudo's mind hangs on the loading screen. After a while, a thought pops up inside, saying that the brain isn't responding. Eventually, he comes up with the ingenious and obvious plan to let Runa take over the reins. The very next morning, she takes him to the shopping mall, where Runa goes from shop to shop, buying clothes like tsundere. After a while, she grabs a drink with him, asking if he is getting bored. As it turns out, she noticed that Ryudo didn't pay much attention to her clothes. However, Ryudo handles the situation skillfully, saying that he was glancing at her smile rather than focusing on the clothes. Later that night, Ryudo texts Runa, asking if she enjoyed the date. However, much to his worry, for the first time since they started dating, she leaves his text unread. Ultimately, the very next morning, Ryudo prepares himself for the heartbreak that was due to him. In the evening, he gets a text from Runa requesting to meet at the park. While walking to the destination, Ryudo says to himself that a guy like him can never date Runa. The moment he walks up to Runa, she displays a limited edition phone case that she waited all night to buy. She even got one for Ryudo with the help of Nikoru. In the end, he is filled with guilt, regretting his assumptions about Runa. As they walk back to the station, Ryudo reveals that his confidence with girls was shattered in middle school. Back then, he asked a girl named Maria on a date. However, she said that eating rat poison would be better than dating him, leaving him with great emotional damage. Upon hearing his confession, Runa reveals that her parents were middle school sweethearts, and all she ever wanted was to be like them. Yet, sometimes it feels like she is moving too fast. Despite this, Ryudo refutes her argument, saying that she is using her time in high school to the fullest, which is the most attractive thing. Then, the following morning, at school, all things change, as the teacher introduces Maria Quiros as a new transfer student. The teacher then permits Maria to introduce herself, after repeating her name for like the third time. Maria says that she recently moved back to this town. However, she is unaware of the cancel culture at this school. She hopes that all the desperate cherry boys in their class will clarify everything. As the class shouts the word yes, Ryudo thinks that Maria wouldn't remember his ugly self from middle school. In the end, all he needs to do is maintain a safe distance from the potential trouble. However, destiny plays a prank on him, as Maria is seated right next to Ryudo. After the class ends, Maria asks if Ryudo is the ugly Ryudo from middle school. Without any real intent, Ryudo calmly confirms her fact, saying that they should be friends. Eventually, he finds an opportunity to run out of the class like any sensible man. Yet, his troubles don't end there, as he encounters the wannabe hot girl Nikoru at the door. She takes him to a fast food place and buys a ton of food on his poor little wallet. However, her intentions are pure as white, as she tells Ryudo about Runa's upcoming birthday. She also decides to help him come up with the perfect birthday date. As they continue to discuss highly official matters, a mysterious girl snaps a quick picture of them. The following morning, Runa unexpectedly ambushes Ryudo at the train station. As it turns out, the mysterious girl leaked a picture of him with Nikoru. Runa, with a cute jealous face, asks if he's into Nikoru's killer vibes. Upon realizing that their secret is out, Ryudo asks Runa on a date to celebrate her birthday. He further clarifies the situation, saying that Nikoru was only eating out of his pocket. A week later, on Sunday, Ryudo takes Runa to a nearby marketplace. There, he shares various kinds of bubble tea with her, since Nikoru revealed that Runa is obsessed with that shit. Moments later, he takes out a chart and starts writing down Runa's reviews on the drink. Apparently, he spent the entire week taste testing all the drinks in the area. With that knowledge, he created the perfect cheat sheet to the best bubble tea in town. This leaves Runa speechless, as none of her exes have ever been so considerate. In the evening, as their date comes to an end, Ryudo apologizes to Runa for not buying her a birthday present. As it turns out, all those bubble teas he tested the prior week left him broke. However, Runa doesn't take this to heart. Instead, she chooses to take the bubble tea chart he created as a memento of his love. The very next morning, Ryudo walks in the hallway, overhearing a bunch of nobodies saying that Runa is a gold-digging brat. Worried, he goes straight to the rooftop where he unexpectedly encounters Nikoru. Apparently, even she does not know about the perpetrator behind the awful rumors. Still, she wants to kill whoever carelessly spreads rumors. When the lunch break ends, Ryudo walks back to his class. There, he notices an unnamed jerk asking Runa out on a date. However, much to his surprise, Runa instantly rejects him, revealing she has a boyfriend. However, she refrains from revealing Ryudo's identity as per their agreement. At this point, both the jerk and Ryudo assume that Runa is embarrassed about her super awkward boyfriend. However, she clarifies her stance, saying that she wants to respect his decision. Afterwards, back in class, Maria tries to get close to Ryudo, and she thinks that bad-mouthing the most popular girl is the correct way. Just like the rest of the female population, she goes on and on about how Runa is a gold digger. Initially, Ryudo politely advises her to shut the trap, but as she proves to be a knucklehead, he stands up in anger, announcing that Runa is his girlfriend. Immediately, the whole class starts gossiping about Ryudo's unique mental illness. This goes on until Runa jumps in the frame, testifying on Ryudo's behalf. Her sudden testimony shakes the atmosphere of the entire class. However, unexpectedly, it leaves a positive impact on Runa's reputation, as everyone concludes that she is an angel for dating a rejected retard like Ryudo. He takes a breath of relief, as his most GigaChad move just cleared the air. But then suddenly, Maria creates a new scene as she storms out of the class. Being the overly friendly guy who doesn't know when to quit, Ryudo runs after Maria to the staircase. There, he accuses Maria of spreading false rumors about Runa at their school. However, Ryudo fails to realize her agenda behind the whole situation. In that instance, Maria reveals that Runa and she are fraternal twins, which basically mean that they have different faces. She also clarifies her second name, saying that their parents got divorced when they were in 5th grade. This forced her to move and take their mother's second name. In the end, Maria says that she hates Runa to an extreme extent, since she has always been living under her shadow. Talk about insecurities. After listening to Runa's never-ending blabbers, Ryudo says that the two of them are similar to each other. However, that doesn't mean he goes around screwing others with false rumors. Afterwards, as school comes to a close, Ryudo accompanies Runa back to her house. Along the way, she asks him the reason behind his outburst in class. In response, Ryudo says that he was tired of all the false rumors. This sentiment of his makes Runa tears up like a baby, as no one ever cared much for her feelings. The coming day, on the rooftop, to seek guidance from the Council of Cherry Boys, Ryudo expresses the desire to kiss Runa on a date. Instantly, the two of them lose their shit as they wish Ryudo gets buried 6 feet under. Still, keeping their past relationship in mind, they decide to help him. After a brief thought, they get petrified due to their own thoughts. Ijichi states that kissing her would be like talking to the final boss with a basic armor set. In the end, they conclude that kissing is out of the question, and the only thing Ryudo can manage is holding hands. Afterwards, they craft the perfect strategy to hold hands on Ryudo next day. Apparently, he must take Runa to a park where they will book a boat ride. That's when he will lend a hand to Runa and help her on the boat. As the day passes by, Ryudo asks Runa to go on a date to Yuno Park. As expected, she excitedly agrees to the idea, saying that she hasn't visited the park in ages. On the day of the date, at the park, Runa embarrassingly gives a lunchbox to Ryudo, revealing that it's homemade. Despite the awful presentation, Ryudo takes a bite out of it and says that it's delicious. However, the truth is only known by Ryudo. A while later, he books a boat ride, ready to utilize his master plan. In that moment, out of nowhere, Runa jumps in the boat herself, crushing Ryudo's plans under her heels. Still, being overly optimistic, Ryudo assures himself, saying that he has another shot. But unfortunately, she jumps out by herself, hoping that you only get one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted. In the evening, as walk back to the exit, Ryudo desperately wishes to hold her hand. However, he doesn't want to come off as a creep. It is then, when Runa suddenly stops her movement. She asks if he wants to break up with her, saying that his facial expression is a dead giveaway. Instantly, Ryudo refutes her thoughts and says that he won't ever break up with her. Instead, all he wants is to take another boat ride. Fortunately, this time, Ryudo takes the initiative and extends his hand towards her. During the ride, Runa reveals that she wanted to hold his hand for the longest time. Suddenly, without any prior hints, she leans forward and steals a small kiss. After a while, the two of them then get off the boat and decide to walk together while holding hands. Then, one morning, at the library, Ryudo masterfully tutors Runa in the English subject. As it turns out, English is the first thing that this dimwit is good at. Eventually, they come across a story of an honest person. Instantly, Runa uses the story as an example to appreciate Ryudo's honesty. Afterwards, as they walk back, Runa reminds him that this Saturday will celebrate their 1-month anniversary. Surprisingly enough, she wants him and the viewers to have a little swimsuit episode. After a few days, all the students receive their English exams results. Apparently, Ryudo's tutoring session late at night helped Runa achieve a great score. Still, Ryudo manages to gain a perfect score, since as it stands the student cannot surpass the teacher. Later that day, after seeing their cheerful interaction, Maria acts like a total creep, begging Ryudo to tutor her. However, he instantly refuses her odd request. Disappointed, she unleashes one final strike, asking if Ryudo would share his Lime ID. Even though it was a respectable move, Ryudo bluntly says that he won't message her even if he is dying. After a few days, in the morning, Ryudo waits for Runa at the bus station. Moments later, he receives a text from Maria, still begging for some private lessons. Yet, once again, Ryudo replies in the same manner, telling her to get lost. A while later, Runa enters the frame. Together, the two of them take the bus to the beach. As they reach their destination, Ryudo starts to lose his shit upon seeing all the swimsuits. In that moment, Runa comes out of the dressing room, turning him all red. Afterwards, the two continue their date like normal couples, until moments later, they sit under the shade. There, Ryudo finally comes out, saying that Runs completely rocks that swimsuit. As it turns out, she tried 30 different swimsuits with the help of Nikoru. Suddenly, as they converse, the climate instantly changes, forcing them to book an inn. Inside the inn, Ryudo manages to book a single room due to his broken wallet. But despite being excited, he was incredibly anxious, anticipating the potential future. After the two of them take a soothing bath, they watch the news, learning that the typhoon will last only one night. This relieves the two of them, as they don't have the stamina or the money to continue this drama. At night, the two of them decide to jump into bed side by side. All of a sudden, Runa adds to Ryudo anxiety, asking if he wants to go past third base. Initially, Ryudo thinks to himself, yeah boy. However, after regaining control, he notices that Runa is forcing herself for his task. Much to his anticipation, Runa wants to make him feel comfortable, but Ryudo says that he won't take advantage of her at any cost. Eventually, Runa makes a selfish request, asking Ryudo to hug her. In the end, the two of them decide to sleep while holding hands. The following day, Ryudo safely escorts Runa to her house and then heads back. Unexpectedly, he encounters Nikoru, working at a restaurant. Like a sugar mommy, she forces him to sit inside. There, she reveals that Runa has been jinxed by the 2-month barrier. This means that all of her exes either cheated on her or went cold by that time. Upon hearing all that, Ryudo assures Nikoru that he's madly in love with Runa, and so there is no way in hell he is going to mess this up. After that session, Ryudo finally gets a chance to return to his house. Yet fate had something else planned for him, as he received a phone call from Maria's phone. Unexpectedly, Ryudo discovers that Runa is using her sister's phone. Furthermore, she wants him to meet her at school. In a state of rush, he makes his way to school, wondering if everything's alright. Upon meeting Runa inside an isolated room, Ryudo learns that she is in the mood to move past third base. In the heat of the moment, she pushes Ryudo against the wall, saying that she wants to do the deed. For a moment, Ryudo fails to understand the hellish situation. However, moments later, he recalls the warmth and touch of Runa, concluding that the girl in front of him is an imposter. Eventually, he guesses that the girl is Maria and not Runa. Ultimately, she comes clean, revealing that Runa and her voice match over the phone. She wants to give him her first, unlike Runa. Despite the clear signs from Ryudo, Maria continues her screwed-up nonsense. Apparently, she wants Ryudo to choose her over Runa this time. She assures him that whatever happens between them will forever stay behind closed doors. Yet, Ryudo pushes her aside, saying that a one-night stand with an OnlyFans model doesn't mean anything. At that moment, they sense the school security guard approaching them, forcing them to escape the room. Outside on the bench, Ryudo asked Runa about her messed-up childhood. He wonders if she would actually go this far just to take revenge. Maria instantly refutes his accusation, saying that she truly loves him. It happened on the day he confronted her on the staircase. Despite the sudden shift of emotions in Ryudo's heart, he decides to act tough. In the end, Maria, while crying, leans onto him, asking if they could stay like that for a bit. The very next day, at school, everyone starts giving this strange look to Ryudo. Upon entering the class, both Ajichi and Ren confront Ryudo for cheating on Runa. Dumbfounded, he asks what the hell is going on. That's when they showed him a photo of last night. Simultaneously, Maria enters the room. She first-hand clears the air, saying she did not leak those photos. She adds to this, saying that she regrets rejecting him in middle school. In that instance, both Runa and Nikoru overhear their conversation. In a state of shock, Runa drops her phone and without listening to an explanation, she runs off crying. Filled with anger, Nikoru picks up the phone and slaps the hell out of him. From that day onward, Ryudo didn't encounter Runa at school. Not even on the last day of school before summer vacations. Over the summer vacations, Ryudo tries to contact Runa. However, all of his messages are left unseen. Meanwhile, Ajichi and Ren enjoy their vacations on the beach. That's when they notice a familiar face. Instantly, they snap and send Ryudo a photo of Runa with a strange man. At that moment, he leaves his summer school, taking a train to beach. There, at a local restaurant, he finds both Runa and Nikoru hanging out with an old dude. Unexpectedly, he turned out to be Runa's uncle. Much to his surprise, he allows Ryudo and Runa to have a peaceful chat. After sitting down, Ryudo instantly decides to come clean about the events that took place with Maria. Unexpectedly, Runa isn't angry at him one bit. Furthermore, she explains that her phone broke the moment it fell, and as it turns out there were no local repair stores. However, she is glad that Ryudo took the initiative to fix their relationship. At night, Runa's uncle Mao takes him to their house. There, he awkwardly introduces himself to Granny Sao. After settling inside, Runa convinces Ryudo that they will spend the entire summer holidays together. They will find part-time jobs to pay for expenses. Plus, the festival is coming up, and so they should visit it together. The following morning, Mal hires two ugly kids as part-timers, and since it's a shoujo anime, no one really cares. Loyal to his character, Ryudo proves that he sucks at sales, as he constantly requires Runa to chime in for help. Eventually, she takes over all the interactions while Ryudo is left with all the geeky stuff. Afterwards, as the lunch rush dies down, he decides to get a few hours of study. On the other hand, Runa with a cute ponytail sweeps the floor. Unintentionally, she comes across as a guy magnet, diverting attention of every creep. Much to her expectation, two weird-looking bimbos enter the restaurant. Apparently, they want Runa to choose the most handsome guy between them. Upon witnessing the situation, Ryudo hesitantly walks up to them, hoping that he won't get shot. Immediately, Runa clings onto him, revealing that he is her boyfriend. Afterwards, they take a short break. Even then, Ryudo doesn't give up studying. Upon seeing this, Runa compliments him, saying that he will enter a good college. She adds to this, revealing that unlike her, all of her friends have good plans for their futures, while all she thinks about is having a bunch of kids with Ryudo. As their day comes to an end, Ryudo overhears Runa in the kitchen, yelling at her granny for running out of potatoes. As it turns out, she wanted to surprise Ryudo with the dish. At that moment, they decided to visit together. After buying everything for the recipe, the two of them return while holding hands. At home, they cook up a great meal like an old married couple. Meanwhile, back in their city, Maria and her mother plan to visit Granny Seo at the time of the festival. That's when, suddenly Maria's mother mentions that both Runa and her boyfriend Ryudo are staying there. Immediately, she comes up with an excuse to avoid visiting her grandmother. Whereas back at the beach house, while washing dishes, Granny Seo tells Runa that Maria has cancelled her trip to their house. She made an excuse, saying that she has other plans. However, both Runa and Ryudo are painfully aware that she is avoiding them. Depressed and anxious, Runa pleads to him, saying that she wants to rebuild her relationship with Maria just like it was before their parents' divorce. Eventually, she decides to start mending their relationship by becoming Maria's friend in the new semester. As they continue to talk, Mao makes an entrance with Runa's phone. Excited, she goes through all the messages and the reels sent to her by friends. The next day, Mao pays Ryudo for trash-talking him all month. He also begs him to keep his mouth shut and avoid snitching on him. With that said, he advises Ryudo to buy Runa a nice present for their 2-month anniversary. However, being the guy who never watches anything except anime, Ryudo finds it difficult to find a gift. Later that day, in the afternoon, Ryudo is left shocked after seeing Runa in a yukata, although his reaction to the swimsuit was still better. In the end, after wearing a yukata himself, the two of them make their way to the festival. Immediately, the two of them act like kids in a chocolate store as they play every little game at the festival. A while later, Runa stops by a unique accessories stall and asks if they have a moonlight stone ring. Unfortunately, the ring had sold earlier this morning. As the festival comes to a close, the two of them walk to an isolated area. Along the way, Ryudo starts talking about all the first experiences he had with Runa. This makes Runa cry in agony, as she has already experienced all of these things with other people. She wishes for her memories to be erased, so that she can be in the same boat as Ryudo. Yet, he calms her down, saying that she has experienced everything with him for the first time. Then, he pulls out that moonlight ring, since it's her present for the 2-month anniversary. After summer vacations, everyone returns to school. Following the culture, each student randomly changes their seat according to the teacher's mood. With that settled, Runa and her friends gossip about the seat changes. Amidst the conversation, she walks up to Maria, attempting to rekindle their lost relationship. However, Maria instantly leaves the classroom upon noticing Runa's footsteps. This scene is also seen by Ryudo, who clearly sympathizes with her since she is his girlfriend. Later that day, on the rooftop, with the honorary council of weirdos, Ryudo decides that they should invite Runa and her friends to a survival game over the weekends. This shocks the two twinks, yet they cannot argue with the boy, who has graduated to manhood. On Saturday, Runa, Nikoru and their friend Akari Tanakita join the trio of weird losers for a survival game. Their presence at the scene guarantees their victory, as the boys can't look past their lines and curves. A few moments later, as the game begins, the proclaimed professionals of the game get hit one by one. Eventually, for some messed up reason, Runa decides to stand in the middle of nowhere, waiting to get shot. Ultimately, Ryudo covers for her but gets shot down by the demon Nikoru. This causes Runa to fire up and let loose. She waits for the perfect moment to steal the victory from Nikoru's hand. However, before the next match, Nikoru cuts her nails to avoid any further mishaps, and as predicted, she dominates the second match. Alone, she snipes every noob in the vicinity, enjoying a total whitewash. With that coming to an end, the group decides to leave the facility. That's when Runa notices that one of her earring is missing. Instantly, she gets insecure, as it's her favorite earring. After searching and searching, Runa discovers that it was inside the bag, buried under other stuff. The group then decides to grab a drink at a restaurant. That's when Ajichi starts to narrate his geek scripture, describing all the guns they could use in the survival game. Unexpectedly, Akira is the only one amongst them who could follow everything. As it turns out, she is also an otaku for the Vanilla Voice band, and just like the Council of Cherry Boys, she can narrate the geek scripture. Being the demon Jaro, Nikoro refuses to stay behind. She then takes over the conversation, revealing that she is a nail otaku. To impress everyone, she rambles on and on about the different kinds of nail designs and other stuff. As the day passed by, the group decided to go their separate ways. However, Runa says that she's free for the rest of the evening, and so she takes Ryudo to a Ferris wheel. A few moments later, when the wheel reaches a certain height, Ryudo thinks about all the shoujo manga scenarios. In reality, he desperately wants to kiss Runner right now. All of a sudden, she breaks the awkward silence, saying that a shoujo manga had a similar scene where the character kissed in the Ferris wheel while eating marble chocolate. Despite the lack of chocolates, she asks if they can kiss. Unexpectedly, Ryudo fulfills her wish with a long and soothing kiss. After exiting the ride, Runa gets the happy fuzzy feeling as she expresses her feelings for Ryudo. This gets him excited to work and study even harder. The following week, Ryudo turns down Runa for a date on set since he has to attend cram school. Unfortunately, there he finds Maria walking around with a bunch of friends. Instantly, Ryudo sneaks under the tables to escape from the class. Outside, he meets a senior who wants to know all about this Maria situation. Ultimately, he decides to help Ryudo hide from her until his final exams. After the weekends, back in school, the management of the school asks if students will help them with the upcoming event. Amongst everyone, only Maria volunteers to help. This gives Runa a chance to initiate the mission to befriend her lost sister. Initially, no one gave a shit about the stupid festivals. However, upon witnessing Runa's excitement, Akira also volunteers to participate. Out of nowhere, Runa also forces Ryudo to join the mix. Being a considerate guy, Ryudo claims that Ajichi would be great for the job. From that day onward, after school, both Ajichi and Akira start doing their own thing, whereas Ryudo is forced to become a mediator between the two sisters. As it turns out, they can't even understand each other's hobbies, let alone agree on the same template designs. Dumbfounded, he turns to Sekiya. But despite being older and experienced, he lacks the knowledge to deal with quarrels like these. Yet, Ryudo doesn't give up on the two sisters. Still, things get worse as they come up with different ideas. Moreover, they ask Ryudo to pick a side, an obvious trap which he thankfully avoids. Later that day, he talks with the management, explaining their K-drama situation. Although, in the end, he somehow messes up and overpromises, saying that they will come up with the design before the end of the sports festival. After cram school, Ryudo runs into Maria, who also returned from the same school. However, in order to keep his dirty business with Sekiya a secret, he lies, saying that the bookstore has a good collection of books. All of a sudden, Maria sparks a conversation, revealing that she joined Runa's school to surprise her. She thought Runa would jump from her seat and introduce her sister in a cheerful way, but instead of that, she acted all confused like it was her ex. In the end, before the train arrives, Maria says that she said rude things to Runa. Thus, all she wants is to gain her forgiveness and become Runa's friend. Surprisingly, Ryudo's uneasiness around Maria vanishes after that heartfelt confession. After taking the train, he offers to walk her home. But Maria instantly refuses his gesture, saying that he is not her boyfriend. On the day of the sports festival, both Runa and Ryudo participate in various events. They even manage to win a race. On the other hand, Maria and Akari prepare for the cheerleading squad. As she enters the ground, Maria notices that her mom is talking with Runa. Immediately, she is overrun by jealousy, causing her to flee the scene. A few moments later, even her mom starts to worry about her whereabouts. She asks both Runa and Ryudo to go search for Maria. Ultimately, they decide to split up and search for her. For some reason, Ryudo makes his way to the rooftop, where he unexpectedly finds her lost in thought. She complains that her mother is supposed to cheer for her alone. As a creature of habit, Ryudo tries to act nice and solve the problem. However, Maria states that his kindness will only make him more attractive in her eyes, and so she asks if to leave her in peace. After the tournament, the publisher forces Ryudo to choose between the two choices. Eventually, he comes out clean, saying that Maria's version appeals to the bigger crowd. While walking back from the meeting, Runa reveals that she overheard Ryudo's conversation on the rooftop with Maria. She thinks that Maria would be a great fit for him, as Ryudo and she have a similar personality. With that said, she runs off in the rain, saying that she needs space. After a few days, Ryudo officially submitted the designs to the management. The teacher thinks that his team has worked really hard for this combined effort. However, inside, Ryudo knows that he finalized the design on his own accord, since no one wanted to talk to each other. Upon exiting the room, he overhears Runa talking on the phone with some random dude. Instantly, he assumes that she might be talking to a 6-foot-tall ripped fine specimen. Suddenly from the back, Nikoru interrupts his meditation, expressing her disappointment in his dim-witted nature. Apparently, she thought that Ryudo might be able to keep Runa happy and trust her. Later that day, outside, Ryudo runs into Akari. She takes him to a restaurant, where she reveals that Runa might have a sugar daddy. She briefly explains her understanding of the situation. But in the end, Ryudo says that he will trust Runa to the fullest. To disprove his claims, he meets up with Sekiya in order to flush out this mysterious sugar daddy. On their way, they suddenly encounter Akari. There, she reveals that Sekiya is the alleged sugar daddy she was talking about. In that instance, he realizes that Runa is Ryudo's girlfriend. Eventually, at a restaurant, Ryudo assumes that Sekiya is one of Runa's scum exes. However, he clears the air between them, revealing that he used to date Nikoru. Back then, he was a dumb student and eventually dumped Nikoru after her parents had gone through a divorce, indicating that he was a true scum of the earth. At this point, he is too ashamed to confront Nikoru. Even so, he still loves her with all of heart. Ultimately, Ryudo convinces him to reunite with Nikoru if they still have feelings for each other. Amidst their conversation, Ren and Ejichi come rushing to them, revealing that both Runa and Nikoru are in trouble. As it turns out, they are being troubled by a bunch of nameless nobodies. Upon reaching the scene, Ryudo tightly grips Runa's hand and takes her away. Simultaneously, Sekiya arrives on the scene, claiming that Nikoru is his girlfriend. After taking her away, he tightly hugs her and apologizes for being too late. Upon seeing their success, Ejichi decides to express his true feelings towards Akari. However, not everyone can taste the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden. She rejects him, claiming that he made an unwanted advance. After comforting Ejichi, Ryudo rushes to Runa's side. There, he expresses the desire to spend the rest of his life with her. After a few days, Runa and Ryudo meet at the park close to his prep school. Even so, their relationship remains on the edge. Runa forcefully carries the conversation, revealing that Nikoru and Sekiya went on a date to the aquarium. Afterwards, due to cram school, Ryudo parts ways with her in the city. The very next morning, Nikoru came to class with sore eyes. As it turns out, she got dumped again by Sekiya since he wanted to focus on the college entrance exams. Later that day, at cram school, Ryudo confronts Sekiya, saying that he is messed up in the head. However, Sekiya says that Ryudo is just an inexperienced brat who can't even satisfy his girlfriend. Furthermore, Sekiya adds to the conversation, revealing that Nikoru wanted to seal the deal. But if he had followed through with her plans, then his studies would go bye-bye since most of their time would be spent in hotel rooms. Whereas the two girls meet each other in the middle of the night, weeping about their messed up situation. That's when Runa tells Nikoru that she has made up her mind to end things once and for all. Meanwhile, back at prep school, Ryudo walks to the station alongside Maria. There, he says that their late-night meetings hold no value, thus they should end it. However, before leaving, Ryudo says that Maria is the first girl he ever fell in love with. Moments later, he excitedly calls Runa, saying that he misses her. Suddenly, he hears a scream from Maria. Upon rushing towards her, he discovers that she was robbed. After settling matters with the police, Ryudo tries to explain the situation to Runa. Yet, she refuses to listen to anything. The following week, at the same time, Runa comes out clean, revealing that she wants to break up with him. For a moment, Ryudo handles everything like a man. However, after a while, he starts crying like a little baby. His sudden tears and scream cause Runa to panic. This leads to her revealing the truth about her insecurities regarding him and Maria. Apparently, Runa thought that Ryudo might start to hate her if she ever spoke the truth. At that moment, he hugs her tightly, claiming that high school students are sure to make mistakes. Afterwards, their conversation leads to Runa, revealing the secret behind her single ear ring. As it turns out, she gave the other one to Maria before parting. This revelation forces Ryudo to remember that Maria lost her earring in the prior incident. And so, together with Runa, he finds the earring in the same location. The following morning, the teacher gives Maria an award for the best pamphlet design in the festival. That's when Runa stands up, revealing that Maria is her younger twin sister. Instantly, Maria takes her to an isolated space where the two of them share an intimate moment. As a result, the friendship mission comes to an end. A few days before Christmas Eve, Runa walks through the streets, clinging to Ryudo. As they walk, she shouts out loud, expressing her true feelings openly to the world. Afterwards, at a restaurant, she reveals that they are going to launch a new operation on Christmas Eve. Surprisingly, her father and mother both have been thinking about each other for the longest of times. She, together with Maria and Ryudo, plans to act as their wingman to get them remarried. The following day, Ejichi returns to class after a long hiatus, looking like the top G apparently. He used the rejection as a catalyst to finally hit the gym, making Akari regret ever thinking of rejecting him. Now, Akari herself is willing to ask him out on a date. Whereas, on the rooftop, Ren shoots an arrow in the dark, asking Nikoru out on a date. However, she is still stuck up on her middle school boyfriend Sekiya. Later that night, Ryudo and Runa join Maria and her mother for a Christmas party. Unexpectedly, their dad does the stupidest thing, as he brings another woman to the party. He also displays nerves of steel, saying that he is going to marry that woman in front of both Runa and Maria. This revelation causes Runa to collapse on the table out of disappointment. After a while, Ryudo takes her back to the apartment. There, she asks him to stay the night. Initially, he refuses to comply with the request, but after seeing those puppy eyes, he is forced to stay. Suddenly, she pushes him against the walls while rising in temperature. Ryudo, like any other man, thinks that she wants to do it badly. However, out of nowhere, Runa faints away, revealing that she has a high fever. In the end, Ryudo carries Runa to her room and tends to the fever by using conventional techniques. Meanwhile, in the city, Nikaru loses her patience, and so she runs into Sekiya's cram school, saying that she will wait for him no matter what. Ultimately, the two of them try to get back together, fixing their relationship. Back at Runa's house, Ryudo spends the whole night caring for her. In the morning, he suits up as Santa and gives her a moonstone necklace. At that moment, Runa says that her father is no longer Santa since he has taken over her happiness and sadness. Later that day, she contacts Nikaru, revealing what had happened between them. She also confesses that her fantasies about Ryudo are on the rise. Upon hearing this, Nikaru says that this is the first time Runa wanted to willingly go past third base with someone. If you liked what you saw, consider subscribing to the channel and stay tuned for more quality uploads.